Hello, everyone. My name is Vernon Vincent, and it is my distinct pleasure and honor to participate in this tribute to Professor Mitiku Belachew. Mitiku Belachew was born in June of 1942 in a small village near Guyane, Ethiopia. The exact date is unclear, as his actual birth wasn't recorded until he began to attend school for the first time at the age of 12. That's when his village chief tapped him and said, "Time for school." He excelled and came up through the ranks quickly, so that by the time he was 20, he was attending a scholarship-supported medical program in Liège, Belgium. He went on to become a general surgeon and eventually the chief of his hospital in Huy. Coming from a land of hunger and famine, he became specialized in the treatment of severe obesity, the plague of the developing world, as he called it. Dr. Belachew was among some of the very earliest of surgeons to master laparoscopic surgery. And he lamented that he did just about every operation every day laparoscopically, except his bariatric procedures. He was among the very few who originally used Dr. Kuzmak's open adjustable gastric band. And he approached me on my very first trip to Europe, to a conference in Liège, and shared that if I could make a device laparoscopically, he would prefer and want to do it that way. I said, "Well, you're about the 100th surgeon with that idea, and many are intrigued with Dr. Kuzmak's adjustable band, but with the explosion of laparoscopic surgery at the time, wanted a laparoscopic band." We sat next to each other and watched a Nissan fundoplication live on a big screen at the Palais des Congrès in Liège. He said, "I can do that dissection. I do it every day. If you can make the band, I can put it there." Thus began a nearly 2-year collaboration of many trips to Huy, of animal labs at the University of Liège, and ultimately the development of the lap band. I was a novice junior project engineer with the original company that developed the lap band, Inamed Development Company, which soon became known as Bioenterics. The 2-year project included multiple trips to Belgium. Had the pleasure of staying with Mitiku and his family in their castle, the Chateau de Bonne Espérance, which he was meticulously reviving, renovating, and bringing back to its grandeur. The first procedures were done by Mitiku and Marc Legrand at the Central Hospital Regional Huy on September 1st, 1993, with the first band truly designed and innovated for laparoscopic placement on the first human. Mitiku hosted the first international lap band system workshop in his hospital in Huy in the spring of 1994. 25 surgeons from all over the world attended, many of whom you know as surgeons who became the most prolific with the lap band and the popes of bariatric surgery in their countries, including Professor O'Brien, Favretti, Sagato, Weiner, Chevalier, Frydenberg, Doherty, Hell, Ritchie, Kunath, Lemons, Takino, Turnbreyer, and Van Erten, among others. In these pictures you see a young Harry Frydenberg, my best friend and colleague Robert Vanderwilt, who was a partner in this project, a Belgian team member. This is the mayor of the city of Huy in the city hall presenting with Mitiku a declaration of honor and acknowledging this worldwide event that had occurred in their city, in his hospital. Mitiku went on to travel the world teaching the surgical technique of the lap band and presenting his data. Here he is again with Harry Frydenberg, Claude de Sèvres in Sydney, with Ariel Ortiz, Pedro Curry in Mexico, and at one of the many conferences that he attended in Mexico, where he was singled out and recognized as an international expert. In 1995, we initiated our U.S. clinical trial for the lap band, and Mitiku was central to this activity as our surgical teacher. He proctored every initial case and monitored all subsequent cases by video. Here he is with just a few of the labs that we had, which included Dr. Lubomir Kuzmak, who was watching the translation of his open adjustable gastric band into the laparoscopic gastric band and participated in the initial labs with Cornelius Doherty, Robert Greenstein, Lou Martin, among a few. And this hug came at the end of a very arduous first case of Robert Greenstein's at Mount Sinai, where he was very happy to have completed that procedure. Mitiku continued to participate in advisory boards and panels around the world with some very notable people, with Dr. Patrick O'Leary and our U.S. Surgeon Advisory Board and international team at the time, Dr. Wren, Fisher, Zimmerman, Spivak, Corvala, Favretti, Ponce, Jeff Allen, and Mitiku. We also had fun. He became known to a number of the locals at the clinical trial sites that we frequented. This is in New Orleans at the very end of Bourbon Street at the Funky Pirate, Big Al Carson and the Blues Masters. We would show up once a year, and Big Al would say, "Dr. Belachew, welcome back." Of his many publications, the one that needs to be mentioned today is his From Dream to Reality publication, which beautifully illustrates how Mitiku approached things systematically with established goals and objectives and ethical considerations. The paper perfectly captured the essence of our extremely rewarding collaboration. The band development years with Mitiku were profound, absolutely changed my life. Mitiku went on to host the Third World Congress of the International Federation for the Surgery of Obesity in Bruges, Belgium in 1998 as the president of the Belgian chapter and as the founding partner of the Benelux Society with Dr. Grave. His final professional presentation was as the honored keynote speaker at the 2003 IFSO Congress in Salamanca, Spain. He opened his talk to approximately 3,000 attendees with the following: "Thank you for a warm welcome and introduction. How ironic and sad that in the time it took you to introduce me to speak about my career treating severe obesity, in my home country of Ethiopia, more people died from starvation today than are in this auditorium." In the stunned silence that followed, he outlined his unlikely path from his humble village to that podium. He was most proud of having maintained his autonomy as a surgeon, to have chosen what was best for his patients, with no obligations or commercial influence. A little known fact was he never benefited financially from the development and commercialization of the lap band, not $1, franc, or euro. He volunteered his collaboration to help his patients. He closed his keynote lecture with the surprise announcement that he was retiring and returning to Ethiopia. Once back in Ethiopia, he spearheaded fundraising to build and equip a primary school. When those kids grew up, he then went back to fundraising and built the secondary school. And all the while, he continued to teach surgery at hospitals around Ethiopia. Additionally, he routinely conducted medical caravans with his wife Fatu in Ethiopia and in Morocco in the deserts of North Africa. At the age of 67, Mitiku completed one of his dream activities, and that was to climb Kilimanjaro. He did this with a group of his college friends that had talked about it for years. It cost him a few frostbitten toes, to which he said it was worth it. In the last few years, he dedicated himself to completing his book, The Shepherd Became a Surgeon, From the Top of the Mountain to the Top of Surgery. This was a result of his son Shabishi's encouragement and insistence that he write down his story so that Mitiku's grandson would know exactly what an amazing life he had had. I was among a small group of Mitiku's friends that he asked to help with the English version of the manuscript. He asked me to help clean up his English, which actually his grammar and structure was much better than mine has ever been. I had the profound experience of learning about the 95% of Mitiku that I had no experience or exposure with previously. The amazing life he had growing up in the little village in Ethiopia what it took to get to the point of the right of manhood and the opportunity and how it came to him to go to medical school in Europe. Read the book. It's truly amazing. Mitiku was well known as a quiet gentleman. When he really wanted to be heard, he spoke very softly. Always the diplomat and statesman, he changed the course of countless arguments with colleagues and amongst friends at dinners with, the wine is good. He became quite the wine connoisseur himself, actually, completing a formal sommelier certificate late in life. How many times did he say, life is too short to drink bad wine? He was always demanding of excellence and frequently said, you must be serious about your work. He also said, but one cannot be serious all the time. Mitiku passed away April 8th, 2021, at the age of 78. Ironically, back in wee Belgium, in his old hospital. It is a bit of a crime and actually unforgivable that no service was held due to COVID. However, I understand that Mitiku did not want a service or memorial. He didn't want a fuss to be made. I will simply ask the universe for forgiveness for this event. Thank you, Mitiku, for everything. You made a huge impact on me and on millions of people who have taken advantage of the fruits of your labors. Gete Yabarak. Rest in peace, Mitiku.